Salutations and welcome to the Manabar Video Game Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Rhodes, and I'm joined here with Matt Samarco.
Hey, what's going on?
And Pikachu.
Pikachu!
That's it, though.
Yep.
No Dan.
Yep. Who's Dan? It's just us. Just the three of us.
So I'd hate to be the bearer. I'm just going to call out the elephant in the room right away. Dan's not here. He's not going to be joining us for this podcast tonight. I didn't think this would happen so soon, where it would just be two of us, or we'd have a situation where we might have had to bring on a guest. So tonight's just going to be...
Did he have a kid?
It's just going to be Matt and I tonight. I contemplated whether or not I would go into why Dan is not here, and I decided that I'm just going to clear the air right away. So as we all know, Dan loves Pepsi. I don't think he's brought it up on the show.
Where's this
at
going?
all?
I don't know if I should take this seriously
or
this is Dan.
This is like deadly seriously.
Okay.
It's kind of a medical thing, but so Dan loves Pepsi. He hasn't brought it up on the show, but he usually has like 2 or 3 a day. And
Pop and Coke is the superior drink, so
vanilla specifically.
Specifically, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna go,
I'll drink a reg Pepsi.
Yeah, me too.
I don't mind.
Better than I thought you meant Coke.
No.
I'll drink one if there's nothing else.
Yeah, people are like really split about that. I don't want to get into a whole debate on that tonight, but I could go either way, to be honest. But rum tastes just as good in Pepsi as it does in Coke. So there's a vending machine at work, at the area Dan works in, and he was going for a Pepsi, and the machine exploded.
The Pepsi machine exploded?
The entirety of the machine exploded.
What does that even mean?
I don't know if it was like a prank.
Did you see this, or did he just say this?
His mother called me.
Oh my god.
So Dan did not make it. But he'll be back next week.
He has not great luck with things.
Nope. So he's maimed horribly, but he'll be fine by next week. He'll be back.
I still don't know if there's a Pepsi machine involved in Dan not being here or not.
And nor will anybody else.
Oh
so what are you playing, Matt?
Dan?
Dan can't help you now.
I just don't understand what this podcast is now.
It's a solo bolo.
What does that mean?
I mean,
there's two of us.
It's not solo bolo. It's like a bro off. It's just two bros talking about video games and a stuffed mouse.
Oh, I miss the Dan buffer right now. Okay.
Oh no, you're alone in a room with me.
Yep.
There is no buffer zone anymore.
I've been playing. It's been such a slow week for like releases. I know that Fire Emblem game came out, but I'm not really into those. I haven't checked it out for the Switch, but that's the only thing I can even think of that came out this week.
Yeah, Fire Emblem games scare me because I know that that's a series that I could probably sink my teeth into, but like this new one coming out, I know is vastly different from the other ones.
It's supposed to be really good, but it's also supposed to be like very time consuming, and I don't like games that I'm judging it without playing it, but I feel like it's a game that would move too slow for me. Like I would get frustrated at how long the battles are and just getting to the next chapter of the story.
To be honest,
like a Final Fantasy Tactics kind of thing where it's like slow movement.
From what I know about I have played a couple of Fire Emblem, but from what I know about Fire Emblem and from what I know about you and the types of games you'd play, this is not a Matt-like game.
Yeah, which is kind of a bummer because it's, from what I hear, the story is really interesting and the characters are really interesting, which appeals to me. I like fleshed out, interesting characters.
You do things in the past that alters the future, which is kind of cool because you're kind of going.
Everything you do in the past alters the future.
So what I mean is you go back and forth between the past and the future, and you're altering things in the game in the present based on going backwards in the past.
That's cool.
Yes, Matt. Everything we do right now alters the future. I'm not as
well. The way you said it was like
stupid as I am.
Everything they do affects the future, and I'm like, okay.
Well, that's technically true.
Also true for me right now.
But so yeah, I'd forgotten that even came out. Also, I didn't know it was on the Switch for some reason. I'm just so used to those games and the Pokemon games coming out on the 3DS that I forgot that it was coming out for Switch. But moving on to the games you've been playing, not to derail anymore.
So I've been playing a lot of the same stuff, but the one new game I played was Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I was hoping Dan would be here because he had a lot of, I think, more positive things to say about it. To be fair, I only played it for maybe 2-3 hours tops, and I just couldn't get into it. You start off as the Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's like just kind of a basic beat 'em up. But it just felt like there was nothing, there was no there. Like first off, the all the enemies took way too long to kill. Like it wasn't that they were difficult or if it was challenging or even that the fighting was super interesting. But it was just okay. Got to press A 6 times. Got to press A like 6 more times. Just keep pressing them. And then you get to the first boss. Not far into it is like Sandman or whatever his name from the Spider-Man universe. So Spider-Man comes to join you. So like every once in a while, it seems like a character or a few characters will join your squad, which is pretty interesting because you can switch between them and add it to your team and play with a different guy. But like this boss was super easy, but it also took what felt like forever. I would say at least 15 minutes, 20 minutes for something that should have taken like maybe 3 minutes, and it's just repeatedly, and you have to kind of break their shield before you can attack them. So they'll basically have two bars. You got to break the shield bar in a lot of cases before you can even do any damage to them. And it just was kind of this monotonous over and over fighting. And then even, like I said, the fighting style was just kind of, okay, you have a strong attack, you have a kind of a quick attack, and then you have like maybe like a maneuverability attack, like so the main character in the Guardians of the Galaxy, I forget his name, he can like Star-Lord, yes, he can hover. I'm assuming Spider-Man can probably zip around or something, but I didn't get a chance to play with him. And some of that, like, it was nice that they were different, but there still wasn't a lot of depth to it. And you can level them all up together, which also seemed like it would get, it's like I really want to get all of these guys leveled up, but I don't want to play this game like 17 different times.
Yeah.
So it's like I was just going to end up playing with the same 4 characters the whole game anyway. So it's like this is getting kind of.
Now, have you ever been into a dungeon crawler before? Like, were you like super into like any of the Diablos or anything like that?
Yeah, like I played Diablo 2 and 3. I wasn't as into them as I think other people, but I really enjoyed those games. I feel like there was a lot more longevity. You were making more progress. The fighting was interesting. There was a lot more different skills because you're kind of focusing on one guy instead of a squad of 4. There was you could go in a lot of different builds. So your one character could be, strong at archery, or you could be like really good with your magic spells or whatever.
More customization.
Yeah, so much more customization, and the bosses and enemies were, they didn't take forever, but they were challenging, and they had, different skill sets and everything, like all the different spells that all the different characters had. And again, I'm speaking as someone that's only pplayed for a couple hours, so if Dan was here, it would be a little more fair because he could maybe say how
he was also into the previous ones though, and I think also, you're not the biggest superhero fan.
I'm not. Like, I don't mind them, but I was never really a big fan of the movies. Some of them are okay to me, but
like when you have a game type that it seems like you already were like, not the biggest fan of, but you liked in general, and then just pop a license skin on it, it might not be for you,
Yeah, I bet if it was like different Final Fantasy characters throughout the generations, I probably would have been like, all right, I got to stick this through just to see it, because this is awesome.
I wouldn't say I love the Marvel Universe, but I enjoy it. I enjoy the movies. So that aspect interested me. It was the whole dungeon crawler mentality that didn't interest me. It looked pretty bland.
Yeah.
It looked like something I didn't even really want to try.
Yeah, that's what it is. I would call it like it's just generic fighter game.
Yeah.
Beat 'em up.
Now we just sound like a couple of Debbie Downers without
I know.
Dan here to say how much he likes it.
Because exactly, he'd be here to have some counterpoints. I'm sure there's probably some positive things if you play it longer, but I just wasn't having fun. And I know Andy's theory for games is if you're not having fun, just stop playing it.
It's a good theory.
Yeah. So I've also been playing
more of a way of life.
Yeah, I guess. But I usually don't do that because I like to get trophies. But I was so not far into this game that I was like, I got it.
You don't even get trophies on the Switch, so it doesn't matter.
That's true.
Nintendo
frees you from that prison of obsessiveness. Okay, so the other game I've been playing most of the time is I'm still playing through Skyrim VR. I'm having fun with it still. There's a little things that are starting to annoy me. Like, so you get all these quests, which again is something I think most people enjoy about those kind of games. But there's not a lot of direction about, okay, this is your main quest. This is the one you have to do. I'm kind of learning that it looks like the leveling just kind of the whole game levels with you, which kind of I feel like it kills the, oh man, I just leveled up, because everything else is leveling up with you. So you're not gaining a lot of power. Maybe you're gaining some different skills so you can try some different things out. But I like games where, you kind of level up and then you can grind and get much higher than the guys and be like, oh, look at all this work I did. It actually paid off and I can destroy this whole town or whatever and do a bunch of quests or like do a side quest that I'm not supposed to be ready for. So besides that, I'm doing some side quests because I still don't know which is the main quest.
If you did the main quest and nothing but the main quest, you'd be done with the game within like a few hours.
Yeah, and I'm kind of at the point where I want to finish. So that you get in these side quests. Some of them are one-offs, but it looks like the one I'm on, it's like the Thieves Guild.
That's the one that Dan recommended.
Yeah, he recommended I do that, and I actually kind of just happened to go there because of another quest. So I was like, all right, I'll check this out. And it's actually a pretty interesting side quest. Like you kind of infiltrate this Thieves Guild, and you kind of go up in the ranks, and you're basically like at the point where I am. They're like, all right, you have to be the leader of this Thieves Guild, and you have to kill this guy that backstabbed you way in the past. So that's what I'm doing now, which is pretty interesting. And I'm hoping to just kind of finish that off. And I'm enjoying the game, but I don't want to play it for like 300 hours. I know a lot of people can get lost in this game and just like, okay, I'm going to min-max everything, do every side quest. My plan is just to kind of finish this line and then try to figure out which is the main quest. It's probably the one with like there's a dragon one and there's a couple other that could be it.
Yeah. Skyrim's one of those games, kind of like Fallout, where like you look around for side quests, and then once you
Did you ever finish it?
Skyrim?
Yeah.
No, I barely touched into it really. I think it's because I got into it so late in the game.
Yeah.
I also had it for the Switch, so I was playing it on travels.
I'm wondering if. Like, I know everyone loves the story in this game, but I'm wondering if the main story is going to be kind of a letdown because, like you said, it's not very long.
Yeah,
like, that's not the great thing about
it's
Skyrim.
The side stuff.
Yeah, it's just the fact that you can it's kind of like Witcher where, like, you can just do whatever you want, and it's awesome.
Like, Fallout, I felt like the main story in Fallout 4 was really good, and it was, I felt like it was a little longer than the one in Skyrim. I don't think that everybody leveled up with you in Fallout 4, though. I think it's like there were certain areas where it's like you really need to level yourself up.
Yeah, that was my problem I had in Fallout 4, because every time I try to start it, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this. It's the same thing. So I did that with Witcher 3, and it took me like 3 or 4 tries to be like, oh, I'm actually enjoying this.
So which is it then? Do you hate grinding or do you love it? Because you just
seem
to get annoyed with both.
I love it, but for some reason, I like there to be some sort of direction. Like, okay, this is clearly the next area to go to. But in Fallout, when I play Fallout 4, it's like, okay, here you have this side quest, and here's this main quest, and here's this another side quest. And I can go off and just completely get destroyed, and they're not like this. I mean,
I feel like Fallout 4 did lay out for you pretty, like you knew what the main quest was.
Yeah, maybe my problem is I always want to do all the side quests. So I'm like, all right, I want to get through every side quest and then go to the next part in the main quest and then do every side quest there. But for some reason, I always get sidetracked into this abandoned factory with guys that are 10 levels higher than me or something, and I just get destroyed, and then I get frustrated, and I just stop.
Speaking of, just because we're on the subject of Fallout, I'll squeeze in here with this. So I went to a Red Sox game last night. I was invited to go for free. I would not pay money to go, as I don't know if I've mentioned it on this show or not, but I despise baseball.
Oh, no. What's wrong with baseball?
It's just boring. Going to Fenway is a little different, though. Like, especially if you're going for free, it's more of an experience thing.
True.
But all I could think about was Fallout 4 the entire time.
Oh, yeah.
It's based in Boston. Like there's a whole city that's just Fenway Park. And I was telling my friends who were there, like, all of the stories, like, oh, like in Diamond City in Fallout 4, there's this guy, like, painting with he's like this old geezer, and his only thing all day is just painting. And you have to go to this, like, other random area and, like, mix paint for him to get him the right shade of green and bring it back to him just so he has more. It's kind of funny. Also, baseball game is very weird now. Very much weirder than I thought they were. So
okay,
you're in a crowd of people, and like the game is the game has started.
Yep.
But it's like nobody realizes it. There's no announcer. You don't hear anybody talking about the game, so you don't actually know what's happening.
Okay.
I used to think, and maybe that's so Dan's the baseball guy. I didn't realize how much he added to the podcast until now. Like, we need him for everything now. So maybe it's to not psych the baseball players out that you don't hear the announcer, but then, like, I barely know. Like, I know what's going on because, nothing really happens at a very good pace.
Nothing's still happening.
All you don't hear anything except people chatting. And then it's like the only part of the game they pay attention to is when someone gets a hit, which is like once every 5 minutes, maybe. So it's just really weird. It was
Wasn't there like a giant board in the back that should say like how many strikes and outs and the score and everything?
I had to decipher that for a while. There's a lot of numbers
it is
flying around. But it was just weird, really weird to like like you're on TV and you're listening to the announcers and the commentators. You're at the stadium, you hear nothing except people talking about random BS, like me talking about Fallout.
It's really about just like going there and hanging out with your friends and like having like a beer and a hot dog or whatever. And then you don't even think about, because like I've been to a couple football games, and you don't think about the fact that when there's on commercials for 2 minutes, they just like stop everything at the stadium.
And to much to Dan's credit, because he's been wanting me to get into baseball for a while, they didn't do any of that at the baseball game. There was no commercial timeouts. There was like one period between the third and fourth inning where they like kind of like groomed the sand, but that only lasted like 5 minutes. There was no like long stretch of, aside from the game itself, where there's just people just standing around. There was no like.
Did you do any waves?
Commercial time? No.
7th inning stretch?
I didn't make it to the 7th inning.
Oh.
I wanted to beat the traffic.
Okay, fair.
Also, they were losing to a bad team.
Oh man, I don't know.
They're not
baseball, so.
doing good this season. But yeah, that's why I'm afraid if I ever go to an NFL game, it'll like ruin it for me. No.
Don't they play that every time?
No, I think isn't that only in Carolina? Because
that's like the Red Sox theme.
Oh, I didn't hear them if they did play it.
But, or at least it was like 10 years ago.
Going back to video games specifically.
Okay.
What else are you playing besides Skyrim and Marvel Ultimate Alliance? Anything neat?
Not really. Playing Apex. There's been some Apex news for next week. I don't know if we want to get this right now. But...
after I go over my games, we can talk about the little bit of Apex news.
I think that's it. I played Fallout 76. I think we must have discussed that last week.
You told me you were already like getting rid of it.
Yeah, I sold it to GameStop, which I mean, I got it. There was a special deal on Amazon where you could get it for basically free. They would give you a credit.
I disagree.
So
you basically pay them $15, but then get a $15 Amazon credit. You're basically still giving Amazon $15, and I understand the whole mentality. You're eventually going to spend $15 on Amazon anyways. I'm just saying it's not like you're getting your money back. You're getting Amazon cash back. They got your money either way.
Yeah,
you're just getting something extra.
Assuming I spend $15 before I die at Amazon, I'll be fine.
I really hope they go to business next week.
What's that?
I really hope they go to business next week. I think that'd be funny.
I was gonna say
you couldn't spend your.
Hope
$15.
I die next week.
No, I did not say that or plan that.
So what have you been playing?
So I have played 4 hours of A Plague's Tale.
Ooh.
Innocence. After Dan's recommendation, and I got to be honest, I'm loving it. I'm a little worried about games like this though, because this definitely flew under my radar.
Yes.
Because it's a smaller developer and the current publisher is, I would say, a smaller publisher. I'm gonna go into that in a second. But as for the general gameplay, so it plays out like chapters in a book, which that's not a big thing. Like every game does, like, they'll do like a little subtitle if you're entering the next part, or they won't. This one just happens to do kind of like, feels like you're almost like reading a book, which I just thought was really
Is there like a narrator, like one of the because it's two, like a brother and sister,
yeah, it's
right?
brother and sister.
Is one of them narrating it, or
no, it's nothing like that. It's basically the loading screens are the next chapter, and the color palette is beautiful. And the color palette changes with the tone of the atmosphere of what's going on. And it shifts from everything's hunky-dory to everything is doom and gloom, like almost immediately. Like it is very like jarring. Like I was like, oh God, I was not expecting this. Like I thought we were going to have like a little more of a prologue before things started going like really, really far down south. And
are there stretches where it's like not super scary, like there's not rats everywhere and you're just kind of like walking around?
I honestly didn't even
puzzles or anything.
I honestly didn't even get to see the rats until a couple hours in. So yeah, there are trickles, and they do the whole thing like, here's how the gameplay works, but they don't really like smash you over the head with it. I haven't really. There are puzzles. I haven't really encountered any of them that are too difficult. It's mostly just like, oh hey, throw something here to knock down this flame to get the rats away, or I was battling this guy with armor, and you had to use your little like satchel thing or slingshot rope to like throw rocks at his weak points. It'll kind of auto aim at the weak points for you, but the mechanic is really cool where there's this like timer. You have to, so it's not just like aim and throw. They actually make you like time it to make sure the hit was good or the hit was bad. So there's a bit of skill involved. But yeah, the developer is Asobo. And they've been making games since 2003. It looks like most of the time they were making games that were like movie and TV tie-ins.
Yeah, I've never heard of them.
It wasn't until recently, because they were published by THQ for a while, and then Microsoft. They made ReCore. That's the only notable game where it's like, oh, Recore, that I know of. This game has been published, A Plague's Tale, it's their first one published by Focus Home Interactive, who, again, I looked at their list of games that they've published, and it's all games that I had never really heard of until I heard of a game that you've been playing. So they published Divinity, was it Original Sin?
Original Sin, yeah.
Specifically the enhanced version, and they also
Yeah, it's
produced.
the one I'm playing on PS4.
Yeah, they also produced or published Divinity 2 as well as World War Z. So those are three games, like three notable games.
Yeah.
A lot of the other ones are just like smaller games or maybe games that didn't interest me, that I never really heard of. So I thought that was interesting. But I'm gonna go into this a little bit further when we talk about a discussion topic. But there's a lot of, I would say, similarities between this game and The Last of Us that I noticed. Just general gameplay, how the story is presented. Just, there's a duo of people that you're playing with, and one of which is a playable character, the other is really not. So I'll talk about that a little later, but I am really enjoying it. It makes me a little upset that it flew under the radar. Like, if it wasn't for Dan, I would have never heard of this game.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. Like, Anthem's going to sold like 10 million copies. Yeah. This is going to sell nothing.
Anthem's garbage. So I'm really going to try to promote this game if I can. I think anybody who likes a story-deep game with really nice graphics as well as, moderately good gameplay. Like, the gameplay wasn't anything to write home about, but it wasn't bad gameplay. I would definitely check out this game. It's definitely can be very gory, though. So if you don't like anything like blood or gore, I would stay away from it, because with the rats and everything, it can get pretty bad.
Yeah, it actually recently got added to the EA Access Premier subscription service that they do. So if you want to do like $15 for a month, you could play that and then maybe try some other stuff. Every time I look at that, I'm like debating pulling the trigger. Like, do I want to just get a year and have access to all these games?
For EA?
EA, yeah. So
like the Origins thing?
Yeah, so Origin Online.
That's weird.
Yeah, there's some good games. I
thought it was EA only games on there.
So I'm not sure exactly how it works, but there's a lot of games, so they must publish a ton of games, or they must be partnered with a bunch of games. But
maybe it's like
it's not just the ones that you'd be like, oh, that's EA. There's
a
couple.
Maybe it's kind of like
titles.
Steam or the Epic's Game Store, where anybody can like pop their game on there if they want.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how it works, but there's some decent games on there, so I'm always debating pulling the trigger, but then I'm like, you know what, I don't really need to. But we'll see. It'll happen, I'm sure, at some point.
I downloaded Origins just to see if my PC could run Apex. It could not. I deleted Origins. End of discussion. I never went back.
Fair.
Speaking of Origins, though, and Apex, I did see the update where I guess for 1 week, you're going to be able to play solos in Apex, which I'm excited for. I want to see how that plays out.
I'm not... Well, I don't really care about solos, and I don't want to play solos. My concern with it is, so it's going to be tied to an event. So I'm guessing you'll have to, win, because they had another event in between the first and second season, and you had to win an event, win a match, and you had to, get in top 3 or 5 in the elite squad, elite, whatever ranking system.
Super duper squad.
Yeah, and something like that. So I'm kind of concerned that this is going to make me have to play it, and then make me, maybe you'll have to come in first to get a new gun skin or something.
Oh, that's gonna be tough.
Which is gonna be tough because it's gonna be getting like the side of my completionist brain that's like, I need to have everything in this game.
Yeah.
I've gotten the max battle pass in season 1. I'm working for 2. I've gotten all the event stuff now, so I have to either try to get this, and the fact that I don't like solos and also am not very good at this game, not good enough to really win.
Yeah, I feel like Apex, the regular mode, is already stretching your likeness for a PvP game.
Yeah, because so when you're playing in a trio, there's only 19 other teams, so even if you're not that good, you still have a decent chance of winning if you just play enough and just kind of hide and stuff. But if you're playing with 3 times as many people, that's 59 people, and you can't have 2 people to help you out if you're having a bad luck with weapons, or if you're just not really good at aiming. Like, I know Andy's a little bit better than me at this game, so it's like helpful to have him on my team in a tough situation. We win a bunch of games and can be fun, but if it's all on me, I don't have a lot of faith that if there's down to like 5 or 6 people, that I'm going to be able to take out 2 or 3 of the best players on that.
I can't envision myself winning often, if at all, but it is easier to get kills because no one's knocked down. There's no knockdowns if it's just solo. It's just if you take down their health, they're instantly eliminated. You don't have to worry about like people being revived
That's
or
true.
teams coming back. But once you're dead, you're dead.
Yeah, and I'm also concerned about so when you're playing in trios, there's 20 different basically groups of people landing. Obviously, you can go off on your own, but for the most part, good teams will stick together and land in the same spot. So if there's 60 people landing, they're all going to be landing in different places, which means there's really not going to be any time where you can be like, all right, I'm going to go way over to slums or way over to artillery, and no one else is going to land there, and I'll be able to get a bunch of weapons, and I'll be in good shape. It seems like that'll be very rare with like 3 times as many people, units dropping, that you'll probably end up with people right next to you, which I know some people like, you get to fight guys right away, but a lot of the time I don't enjoy those first 2 to 5 minutes. Say not even that long, maybe 1 to 2 minutes, because it's just basically luck of the draw who gets the shield and who gets the assault rifle before me with my Mozambique and my no shield or anything like that. So I guess I'll just have to wait and see. I'm a little not super pumped for it just because I'm not one of the people that was begging for it.
Yeah. I honestly don't care too much if they add it. I know I've been saying that. I've been more into I've been wanting to add a 2-man squad in, because there's a lot of times where it's you and I, and then we get that one other person.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
But the PvP side of me is interested. However, that it's a sucky time for it to come out, because I feel like I might have just jumped the shark on the game recently.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way too. And the problem for me, and I've touched on this maybe every other week, is I'm going on to do these daily quests, and I'm not enjoying it the way I used to, because we used to just go on and it was a blast. We would just kind of be like, all right, we're just going to play, we're going to land here, and we're going to have fun, and we're just going to try to kill as many guys as we can.
You don't have to do the daily quest to level up your battle pass, though.
You don't, but it helps a lot. You can get 3,000 XP for every daily you do, and then you get a level every 5 and 10 daily quests that you do for the week.
No, I'm kind of getting to the same point. Like today I went on just to do the dailies, and it's like, why am I bothering to do this? The other day I went in just to play a couple hours of just regular Apex ranked, and I had a blast doing it, just playing it the way I used to.
Yeah, and because I'll sign on and I'll play, and maybe I'll have a good match, but I won't kill anyone. I'll do a bunch of damage, but I won't kill anyone. And maybe one of my quests is to kill 3 people as Gibraltar, and then I'll be annoyed and kind of like, oh, that was a waste, even though I got in first. My squad got in first place, and I did a bunch of damage, and it was actually a really good team effort. So it's just I kind of liked that old system where it was just play a bunch, and you get double XP if you're playing with a character you haven't used too much, and you get 500 XP for the first kill of the day with each character. And I
think they should keep the weekly stacking challenges and just get rid of the dailies.
That's how I feel. Like the weekly ones, you don't have to look at, you don't have to worry about. You just be like, okay, I'll keep this in the back of my mind. Okay, I have to land here, so maybe if I'm not sure where to land, that'll be kind of the deciding factor about where I want to land, so I can get that quest done. But just, I don't know, the dailies...
We were both really excited about the challenges when it came out, and I think we've both had the same realization that they've kind of ruined the game.
Yeah, they change how you play the game totally. So, I mean, maybe if I can just kind of convince myself not to care about them and just not listen to them at all, that might help. But that's still, it's like super completionist that wants to get this battle pass done. That would also be kind of difficult.
Considering how ahead of the game I am on the battle pass, I think that's going to be my new mentality. Is I am not going to go in just to do my dailies. I'm going to go in when I feel like playing, and then when I go in, like if it's something silly, just like play a game as this character, I'll choose that character. But I'm not going to purposefully
play the game
just do the daily challenges every day, because I think that's ruining the game for me, and it's a waste of time, really.
Yeah.
So I think going forward, I'm just going to play when I want to, ask you to play when I want to, and then see how that goes, and maybe that's going to reignite my flame for it. But the flame's definitely dying for Apex for me right now.
Yeah, so hopefully if maybe we change our attitude, it'll get a little bit better. And just the fact that, I mean, we're kind of halfway into season, not even halfway into season 2, so there's not much else for the next 2 months to look forward to. So it's also that kind of like, okay, everything new is not new anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they're adding that solos, but again, it's not a feature I'm super psyched about. So
where's the characters? Add more characters.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season, they
add a new map.
They had 2 characters that they were kind of hinting at. Watson, which was the more obvious one, and then there was this guy with a laptop. Like there was a laptop on the map that you could find, and you could see pictures of him on the internet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and so there was kind of this somewhat assumption during season 2 they would drop him, and the season 2 we're not even halfway through it, so maybe they will put him in the second half. But
I feel like it's one of those things where if I don't play for a week too, I might just hop back in and enjoy playing. Just especially there's just other games I want to concentrate on right now. Speaking of a game that still hasn't gotten old for me, Pokemon Go.
Pokemon
So
Go.
I went into Boston yesterday with a friend.
Team Rocket.
And the Team Rocket stuff is kind of stupid.
It is. Have you the fights? Because we're pretty high level. We're like 33 or something like that.
Yeah, no big deal. We're high level.
Yeah, the fights are harder than I thought they would be. Like I can't.
Oh yeah.
I don't win them all. Like a lot of the Pokemon they have are a lot higher than me. So I'm wondering if that scales or if like people that are kind of new just don't have a shot.
So I decided that I'm not going to be doing the rocket fights anymore because I already completed the special research for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were really hard, and then you can choose to purify them or not. And I got this Magikarp. So what happens when you purify a Pokemon is I found all.
Well,
this
so
out.
tell the people first. What do you mean by purify?
Okay.
What happens?
So there is a
with
Team
Pokemon?
Rocket event for those of you who aren't as vested into Pokemon Go as Matt and I. There's a Team Rocket event right now. So these certain stops have what my friend Wesley would call spooky squares, where it's like a kind of dark and glistening, and you'd click on them, and after you spin the stop, you get your loot from the stop or whatever, and then a rocket guy approaches you to battle, and then he battles you with these like evil red-eyed Pokemon that are like cursed or something like that, or they're just evil because their trainers are evil. So you battle them, and you're battling like a Zubat and a Rattata, and they're actually like really, really hard. They're taking out like my Dragonite and my Machamp really easy. But if you defeat them, you get a chance to catch. It's kind of like a raid where you get a certain amount of Premier Balls, and you can catch one of the Pokemon that you battled. So for instance, the other day I captured a Magikarp. He was only a 10 CP Magikarp, which is CP is for combat power, and that's pretty low. But when you purify the Pokemon, they have the new rating system where it's like HP, attack, and defense. Each one of those stats will go up by 2 points out of the 15 max, and my Magikarp was already really high. So I purified the Magikarp. He went up to a 125 CP, and he's only missing 1 point in, I think, attack, and all the other two aren't. He's basically a nearly 100% IV Pokemon.
Nice.
So I'm like, oh, great, but now I need 760 Magikarp candy because for purification Pokemon, you need less candy to evolve them. But I have a different Magikarp, a shiny one, that I want to evolve as well. So now I need like the 400 for that and the 360 for this guy. So I need to catch some Magikarp to catch up. But yesterday I was in Boston doing the original reason I was in Boston, not the Fenway game, was to do some legendary raids. So I caught a couple of Rayquaza, who's the legendary from Gen 3, looks like a green snake with like big red lips. Also, I tested out a new portable phone charger that I gotta say I highly recommend. So I'm still using the Matt and I both got these really cheap phone chargers. I think Matt repurchased it a couple times because his kept breaking.
My first one broke this like within a day. The second one I lost within 2 days.
Yeah.
Well, I had a movie theater. It slipped out of my pocket. And then I think I'm on my third one now. But yeah,
is it the same one?
Yes, I think it's the third one, but it's not
this
great.
new one. Game changer.
Game changer.
So the one we were using was actually originally made in 2014. This one's a newer one. It's I wrote it down here. It's a really good trusted brand. It's Anker, Anker, and it's the Anker PowerCore 10050, and it fast charged my phone as if I was charging it in the wall.
Oh, nice.
And it worked great.
How long does it last? Like how many charges? Just like one,
I think
one charge
it's good for a charge and a half to 2 charges for my Samsung, but I didn't also charge it from 0%, so it's a little hard to tell.
Yeah.
But I definitely highly recommend it. I used it. I turned off my phone and charged it yesterday with it, and it was charging within, like, because it'll tell me how long it takes to charge my phone. It was within the same amount of time it is from a wall socket.
Nice. How much was it?
$40 at Best Buy.
Not too bad.
So the reason I originally bought it is because I wasn't even sure if I had that old charger of mine, and then later on that day I did find it, but it's like, oh, this one's way better. I don't really trust that old one with my new phone because Samsungs especially have a lot of issues with like charging and what battery packs they use, so I don't want to use an inferior charger on it. Like I love my Android phone, but that is the one thing I've had an issue with Samsung in general is the if you use like off-brand chargers, it can have a lot of issues. Not to mention, there was a version of the Samsung that was exploding at one point. So you want to be careful.
That happens. That happens to everyone.
But yeah, between A Plague's Tale and Apex, those are the only things I was playing this week. And a lot of Pokemon Go. I've been doing a lot of Pokemon walking. I've been on vacation all week, so it's been a perfect week for it.
Nice.
And then I continue to play A Plague's Tale tomorrow and throughout the weekend probably. Moving on. There was really only one big news item that happened, and this is a news item that couldn't for the life of me care about. But Ninja, the famous streamer, has left Twitch, outright abandoned Twitch because someone put a lot of money in front of his face. So he left to go to Mixer, which he already has 100 million subs on Mixer now. It used to be called Beam until Microsoft acquired it in 2016.
100 million subscriptions?
1 million subscriptions. Did I say 100 million?
That's what I thought you said. And I was like, that can't be true.
He has 1 million.
Okay, that sounds
subscriptions. Already. I don't watch streaming. That's never been my thing. I know watching streaming really blew up when Minecraft blew up. And I think Fortnite and games like that kind of carried that trend. I know I have a friend who used to stream Call of Duty back in the day too, but it's been a growing industry. It surprises me a little bit. I mean, it doesn't surprise me that Ninja switched over. He was handed a lot of money. The same reason he played Apex when it first came out is because he was handed a lot of money. But he's at the age, I guess the average lifespan of streamers, he's already over the hump. Like, he didn't qualify for whatever, like, Fortnite thing went on this past year.
He's not, like, one of the best Fortnite players. He's very good, but he's not. He would never win, like, a big tournament.
Well, he didn't even qualify this past year. I guess, like, the around your late 20s is when you stop becoming a successful streamer. That's when the motor skills start dropping to like the younger players and whatnot.
I think that kid that won the $3 million a few weeks ago, he was like 16 or 17. Like it's like even when you're like 22, 23, you're like, oh, I can't keep up with these teenagers just because it's such a sharp decline when you're talking about the peak, highest level.
Makes me worried about trying to get back into Modern Warfare or Halo or like Apex. I've been able to hold my own for the most part, but I can't imagine like trying to be like a professional streamer like that. Like if I was going to be a streamer, I would do it for more like not necessarily competitive games. I would do it for more like, here's an interesting game. Like I would totally stream a Plague's Tale just to get it like more love or something. I mean,
I think like a lot of what makes Ninja good is not just that he's good, but also he's interesting to watch. Like it's kind of a personality thing, and it's kind of a a community gets built up. So that's why people are going, not necessarily because they're obsessed with Fortnite, but just kind of hang out in the chat and talk to all the people and actually communicate with Ninja.
I was reading some statistics about how like a majority of the people who watch streaming are millennials, but I'd be willing to bet that it's even more of the generation that came after us, because like my nephews have been obsessed with watching streaming, like between YouTube or Twitch or whatever, for like they're both 10 and 13 respectively now, but they've been watching since they were like 8 and 11. Like they've been watching for years. Like the streaming, it definitely started with Minecraft, and now that's all they do all day. I think that's what a lot of kids are doing nowadays.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it might be because sometimes I'll put something on if I'm playing a game on a computer and it'll just be on my other screen. It's kind of like, so you're not just like alone in your own thoughts, just like or if there's a game you're interested in learning about. Like I'll do it a lot with games that aren't out yet, people that have access to maybe a beta or alpha build, and they're kind of really they're knowledgeable, and it's kind of interesting to learn about new games that are coming out. But
I guess for me, I'm always the person to pop on like a YouTube video that's just talking about like the gaming news as opposed to streaming, or like even like a video or something like that, like a TV show or something.
And I imagine for the younger generation, if you're like in you're just barely in your teens or even younger than that, maybe you don't have the access to the disposable income to just play the games you want to play. So this is a good way to check them all out with actually not plunking down $60 every time you want to play something new. So luckily, that's not a problem I have as much anymore. I'm
trying to think back to when I was that age. Streaming definitely wasn't a thing. Videos online really weren't a thing. I guess you were just like, I was just playing Yu-Gi-Oh all day and like playing Smash Brothers. That was my thing.
Yeah, but I remember going to the store and opening the boxes to the games and reading the manuals and being like, it's just a manual. It's just directions on how to play and maybe the basic story plots, and just kind of being interested in that because I couldn't go ahead and buy these like games, or maybe just to help me figure out which games I do want to buy, which I'm sure Twitch helped people with too.
Well, I was more thinking about like, what was I doing for like that amount of time back in the day? Like, because like
just all day.
I couldn't go on videos, there wasn't that, infrastructure back then, where now like the kids are growing up with it. So it's just really funny. Twitch has, I guess, an average of 15 million unique visitors every day. That's insane. They probably lost some because Ninja was the top streamer.
Yeah.
But why is Microsoft trying to break into it? Like, what's their gain from that? Breaking into an industry that Twitch has and YouTube, for that matter, has such a stronghold on already.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of money involved. If anyone can take them to task, if you Microsoft with all the resources, could you imagine like next Xbox being able to really kind of connect to your, the Mixer account a lot
Mixer
more
only, probably.
Yeah, it'd be a lot more efficient. I bet they could make it really appealing to people that have an Xbox or have Mixer to get the other.
I wonder if Sony's going to get into that, because I know them when I've streamed, done the Let's Plays of so many. Lets me choose YouTube or Twitch. I can't do both at once.
Like, imagine if you were just playing, the next Xbox, and in maybe the tiny corner of the screen you can put on someone else playing the same game or even a different game, or you could just put yourself on record instantly or something. So they can make it really user friendly.
If I was an Xbox gamer who had a Twitch account and the next Xbox wouldn't let me stream to Twitch, I would be forced to use Mixer, and I bet that's going to happen.
Maybe, I don't know.
Because that would piss me off.
I don't know. See, I don't know. I haven't ever played the most current Xbox. I know with PlayStation you can stream to Twitch.
Yeah, but PlayStation doesn't have their own streaming service.
So I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Again, it's. I guess I'm not the demographic because I'm not into streaming.
Yeah, this is something I'm just kind of curiosity.
Yeah.
From the outside, just looking
I mean, it definitely is like a big deal. Like Ninja's hugely popular. For Microsoft to go out of their way and pay him I don't know how much money they paid him. I think they paid him like $1 million or something.
I think it was more than that, like millions of dollars.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Like that's what Microsoft has. They have the capital, because Microsoft is more than just the gaming company. So they have all that capital. They were buying up all the studios to start producing things for the next Xbox system. So that's their way of doing things. Like, we're just trying to break into this market.
Just until it works out.
Just bring out the money. Just dump it on.
Yep.
Bring in Ninja. I don't know who all the other famous streamers are, though. Ninja's the only one I know of.
There's Shroud is the only other one I really know of, because he's a big Apex player. I mean, there's a bunch of others, but I'm not really familiar. There's Dr. Disrespect.
Oh, God.
That's the streamer that he got banned from some place a few weeks ago because he was recording from a public bathroom.
Ugh.
Yeah, he got in trouble. But I think he's back on Twitch
I feel
now.
like streaming names are like what hip-hop and R&B names used to be back in the day.
Yeah.
Like you listen to a mixtape from, Bebop, Freeze. Now it's like you're watching streams of Ninja and Shroud, and it's like a big thing. Like competitive gaming too. That's the other area that I could never get into. Like I just can't sit there and watch someone else play a game.
Yeah, Evo was this last weekend. All the fighting game championships.
The what?
Evo. It's like the yearly, fighting game.
See, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. Like Street Fighter, and they had Smash Brothers.
Did you watch any of it?
I did not.
Oh.
Like you, I'm not a big watcher of games. It's interesting. Plus, just knowing that I could never be at that level, and it's just like kind of above my head, and I don't. Those aren't my favorite types of games. Like I enjoy Apex, but it's not I prefer like an RPG or a single player story.
Yeah, and I think it's just like the kids today are growing up on the online gaming now.
Yeah.
Because Xbox Live started in 2004, 2005, somewhere around there. So that was like 14 years ago.
Long time ago in a faraway place.
Kids between the ages of 14 and like 21, they grew up on Xbox Live, where it didn't happen for us until we were like 16, 17. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well. There's always been that PvP connection. But moving on. So we're gonna do a little thing today, and I'm really upset that Dan's not here for this, because I really want his input on this one. But we're a couple months removed, I guess a month removed from the halfway point of the year. So I think it's a good time to start talking about Game of the Year and what we think are going to be the possible candidates for Game of the Year come January when we look at this again. So here's what I did. I looked at each month and I wrote down all of the games that came out, and then I kind of weeded them down to at least the ones I've heard of. Like there was a lot of them where it's like a lot of those like little indie games that came out on like Switch only or Stream only, Steam only, that I've never even heard of. And even when I looked up things, I'm like, it doesn't look familiar at all. So I'm apologize to any studio or any developer if I kept their game off of this list, and I'm wondering if Dan would have any to add to this. So I figured we would go month by month, and then for that month, we would say, like, out of all the games I listed, which one has the best chance?
Sure.
So for January, there was New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, which was just a port for the Switch, Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, plus Bowser's Jr.'s Journey.
That's not basically a port, right?
It was for the 3DS. I am not sure, actually. I never played it. I've been done with the 3DS for a while.
Well, Inside Story has been out for a while, but I think that second part might be new.
Yeah, it may be just Game Plus DLC, Tales of Vesperia, Onimushu Warlords, Vane, Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes, Life is Strange 2, Episode 2. Life is Strange 2 is going to come up a lot. They've been releasing episodes all year, so I don't know if maybe just at the end we can just look at it as its own one game. Resident Evil 2 Remastered, and Kingdom Hearts 3. I feel like the answer is obvious.
It's like so boringly obvious. Do we need to talk about this month?
I mean, it's obviously New Super Mario Bros. U
Jesus
Deluxe.
Christ. It's obviously Resident Evil 2 by a long shot.
Yeah, and I haven't even played that, and I already know just from like a quality standpoint.
You need to play it. It's so good. It's like maybe the best Resident Evil game.
We can go over this later. I wrote down all of the games that are coming out that I'm renting, buying, and also everything that's on my playlist right now. And Resident Evil 2 Remastered is on there.
Which I think what's most surprising about this month is how Kingdom Hearts 3 is not even like in consideration for...
Nope. It lost to a port. It lost to a remastered port.
I was excited about that game. I was never a huge Kingdom Hearts fan, but I beat the first two, and then last year I was like, you know what? There wasn't a lot of games came out. I'm gonna play through literally every Kingdom Hearts game. I played through the DS ones. I played on all the different versions. You know, it was friggin' you need PlayStation 2, like all these different systems for it, and it was just so dull that just by the end of the game I didn't want to play anymore. I probably only had a few hours left. I just had to do, it looked like it was just a bunch of bosses. I had done all the major worlds, so even the most fun part about finding all these new Disney worlds was kind of past me. So it's just like I don't want to do this. I don't even care about figuring out what the story is because it's nonsensical anyway.
I was interested in Travis Strikes Again because I enjoyed No More Heroes for the Wii, but I heard it was a bit of a letdown, so we'll see if
familiar with that, but
it was a fun game. It was very like kind of like an R-rated game for the Wii, though. Like it was very like not the normal game you would think of when you think of the Wii as a system in general. So I might check out the second one. Then the third one was announced for at E3 this past year. So we'll see if that does any better. The developer also made a game called Killer 7 for the GameCube. It's a really rough around the edges game, but it can be fun. It's a nice game to go back to, but it's not necessarily fun by today's standards. But yeah, Resident Evil 2, like I didn't even play it, and I know like that would obviously be the candidate over Kingdom Hearts 3.
Top game of the year so far.
Sure. My girlfriend might make a fight for Tales of Vesperia. I don't know if she's played it or not yet, but you know she's into that series. So for February there was Wargroove, Apex Legends, Tetris 99, Civilization 6, Crackdown 3. There are some games I kept on these lists that I know aren't even close to making the shot at Game of the Year. Crackdown 3 is in that list. Far Cry New Dawn, Metro Exodus, Anthem, and Age Out. This is tough.
Really?
I would go for Wargroove, probably. I've heard great things.
You didn't play it?
I bought it. I haven't played it yet, but it's basically...
what is it? This is another game I've like never heard of.
You know Advance Wars for the Game Boy Advance?
I do.
It's that.
Oh.
It's that.
What's it for?
You can download it on the Switch, but it's also available for PS4 and Xbox One and PC.
I'll have to check it out.
It's a good Switch game to have. So it's not with tanks though. It's with like different characters. It's like what Cyberpunk is to Witcher. Like it's the same style of game, but just in a different setting.
Yeah.
Why? What would your pick be?
Apex Legends. I'm surprised that wasn't your pick. I mean, I know it has its problems. We've been talking about those today, but just the amount, like how it really re-injected, I feel like the battle royale. I mean, it was the first one I've really excited about, having the different abilities.
Yeah.
The pinging system, the reviving, just kind of every little incremental step they made to improve on Fortnite or the Call of Duty Blackout Battle Royale, I think was a big change. Like having the different characters was a lot of fun.
I think I just in my head automatically cut that out because there's no story at all. Like, yeah, it's a fun PvP game, but like I can't see that being like Game of the Year material with absolutely no story whatsoever,
I mean, a game doesn't have to have a story to be.
It was of the games I played that month, which
there's lore
3.
Too.
There's lore.
I mean, it's Titanfall.
Yeah. Of the 3 games out of this list that month that I played, that would be my favorite. The other 2 were Metro Exodus and Tetris 99. Tetris 99, I don't think can be overlooked as Tetris. It's just Tetris, but against like 99 other people. But it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's super fun. If you have the Nintendo Online, you get it free with the Nintendo Online, so it's definitely worth checking out.
I wonder if the people that are still playing it are just savage at it.
Oh, I bet.
All
I
the people that
mean,
just played it for fun the first couple of weeks are gone.
I played Tetris Online with my original Nintendo DS. That was my favorite Tetris game too. But you
Yeah.
could play online,
Huh.
and the people from Japan, I know because their names would just be kanji instead of like regular like American letters. They would always be way better at it than me.
Yeah.
I would always get just savagely defeated so quickly. But like, no, Wargroove, I definitely want to get into. I pulled the trigger recently, and I just haven't gotten a chance to play it. Moving on to March, there's Dead or Alive 6, Toe Jam and Earl, Back in the Groove, Devil May Cry 5, Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn, The Division 2, Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, Outward, The Adventure Life Sim, The Walking Dead, The Final Season, Tropico 6, and Yoshi's Crafted World. What do you say, Matt? Devil May
That's a
Cry
tough
5?
one.
I
No,
didn't-
I think I'm
I
gonna
didn't
go
play
with,
any of these.
I'm gonna go with the Division 2 for this month. I loved Devil May Cry 5, but it had a lot of character and a lot of pizzazz, and it was a blast. But the second half of it got kind of samey. Like the environments were all the same. It was just kind of this dark hell world, basically.
Yeah.
And I think the Division 2 it kind of gets a benefit from just being the first kind of online game in the last couple of years that has launched with any sort of like compatibility, just like actually works and people are able to play it together, and it had a lot of kind of nice end game stuff for you to do. You could go through, you beat the game, and then you can it's got really good ability to just jump into other people's games and kind of join in the same level of progress if you're at the same point. And then after you beat the game, this kind of whole new faction comes in and takes over the world, and you have to go through 5 different tiers of beating back these guys to get to the highest level. And it seems like they added a raid to it that I haven't even tried yet, and they've been adding some new expansion stuff. So I feel like that game, the gunplay was just a lot of fun.
I kind of want to. This was one of those months where just none of the games really interested me. So the Division 2, I just like it. Just looked like, hey, co-op shooter, and it didn't really grab me.
It did it better than I think I expected it to.
All right. So here's the thing. It's not that I thought it looked like a bad game. It just didn't look like a game I'd enjoy.
And it's fun.
Very
like
much.
You do these. It's interesting to go. You're going through Washington D.C. Like there's one mission where you're actually stealing the Declaration of Independence, just like in National Treasure. So it's just kind of there's some funny, kind of interesting missions that you have to go through that are kind of unique too.
Yeah, and like Yoshi's Crafted World, like I already knew what that was, and I'm like, I bet that would be pretty fun, but probably just not something I really want to waste my time with because I already.
It was charming, but it seems like something that would be better for kids. Like I just got bored of it because it was so easy and slow.
It's funny that and Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn came out in the same month. That was for the 3DS though. Tropico 6, I've never played a Tropico game. The Walking Dead, I hate The Walking Dead in general. Outward, I tried at PAX, and
First Walking Dead was a great season.
I just didn't like zombies. I'm not huge into zombies. They're just overdone. Outward, I tried at PAX, and I wasn't really too blown away, but I'd be willing to give it another chance because it's gotten decent word of mouth. That's the kind of like co-op Skyrim game.
Outward?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
My girlfriend and I played it at PAX. I think it was in the THQ booth. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Dan would have more to say on that than us. That's a game I'm wanting to try, but again, like, it's just the Dark Souls series and Bloodborne in this, they're kind of hit or miss for me. But I've had 2 people, both Dan and my friend James, both tell me that is a really great game. I still want to try it at some point. Moving on to April. April had the least amount of notable games. Again, the list would be like twice as long if I didn't cut things out. But Forza Street, World War Z, Mortal Kombat 11, Steam World Quest, Box Boy and Box Girl, and Days Gone. I would say that, did you play Steam World Quest?
I didn't, but it's a game that I want to play. I played SteamWorld Dig and SteamWorld Dig 2, and actually I played SteamWorld Heist, so I'm kind of into all of those games. I like the idea of a card battler game, but it's only on the Switch right now, and you can only buy it digitally, so I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. But It seems like it'd be fun to go if you're going on like a long trip, just something to carry along with you.
2 zombie games came out in the same month. I didn't realize World War Z and Days Gone both came out in April. Days Gone, I'm assuming, would be out of that small list of games I named.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of part of that is by default. Like, there's besides SteamWorld Quest, which I'm interested in playing.
Mortal Kombat 11 was like the only other AAA game.
Yeah, and I don't like fighting games that much, so it didn't really appeal to me.
Also, there was a lot of a lot of issues with that game. Like, I think there was like some progression issues, microtransaction things going on with that game.
Days Gone was definitely a pleasant surprise.
Days Gone, I still want to play. That's on my list of still. I would like to. I want to try if I don't already have a clear front runner for each month, and this whole list just tells me that you and Dan have way more free time than I do to play these games. But I would like to play pick one game from each month and be able to play one just so by the time it does come to voting, I can actually vote with confidence on a game rather than
true.
That'd be amazing if Resident Evil 2 pulls it off though. That's a pretty amazing feat. But so Days Gone would be the one from April that I would try. May has another Life is Strange 2 episode. Plague's Tale: Innocence came out in May. Rage 2, Castlevania Anniversary, Team Sonic Racing, Layers of Fear 2, Outer Wilds, that's PC only, and Trover Saves the Universe. That's the Justin Roiland game. This is the month I've played the most games of.
Really?
Because
I've only played 2, I think.
I've played A Plague Tale. I'm playing it now. I didn't play Rage 2 because it just didn't. It looked like Borderlands, but not as good.
Yes,
so I didn't try playing it. Team Sonic Racing I played. Layers of Fear 2 I tried at PAX. Outer Wilds I tried at PAX. And Trover Saves the Universe is still on my GameFly queue. Outer Wilds I still really want to play, but it's PC only. And
yeah, I've heard it was good, but I haven't tried it either.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I really want to play more of it. Team Sonic Racing was garbage. Rage 2 it just looked too generic. Just didn't look like good enough for me to waste my time on, unfortunately. Plague's Tale is probably my clear front winner right now for this month.
Yeah, just from what I hear about it and I've seen about it, I'll end up playing it in the next few months, so that'll be something I'll give a shot. I would probably say that too. I played Rage 2 and it was fine. It was a serviceable, fun time. I played Sonic. I think I probably liked it more than you if you said it was garbage. Yeah. But it's still not a great kart racing game. It was very disappointing as someone that was a big fan of the
Layers of Fear 2 I played at PAX as well. And it was a lot like the playable trailer for that Silent Hill game that never happened.
PT?
But I have the water bottle that I use every day that says Layers of Fear 2 on it.
You're a big fan.
Oh yeah, I'm a huge fan. They did give me a free water bottle. It'd be something I'm willing to try again. It did come out for all the systems. It wasn't very memorable for me. It was just corridors of horror happening.
Sounds interesting. That might be a game that I would throw on my wish list, and once it hits $5 or something.
It sounds like a you and Dan game, to be honest.
I do like horror games.
Yeah,
when they're done right.
Moving on to June, I didn't count July or August because we'll do that in January, and then February we can kind of compile everything and go into our game of the year. But for June, there was Elder Scrolls Online. There was an expansion for it. Evidently, an Elsewhere. It's spelled ELSWEYR. Elsewhere. I think it's supposed to be Elsewhere. Borderlands 2. There was some DLC for that. Cadence of Hyrule. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. My Friend Pedro. Crash Team Racing. This I kept on as a joke. Harry Potter Wizards Unite. And Super Mario Maker 2. I feel like Dan would pick Mario Maker 2 out of all of these.
Spoken for Dan.
Did he play Bloodstained Ritual of the Night? I think he was pretty excited for that too. He had mentioned. I'll let you guys know how Cadence of Hyrule goes after I'm done playing it. So far I like it. That would probably be my pick. My Friend Pedro actually looked pretty fun. Crash Team Racing was eh.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the one that I'm looking forward to playing the most. I'm actually should be getting that in a couple of days, so I'm gonna be playing through that next couple of weeks.
Mario Maker 2 I'll acknowledge is a really good game. It just didn't grab me, and I went over that last week. Why?
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. It's just not for me, but I guess it's a lot of fun. It has a lot of new ideas. They definitely added on a lot from the first game, so it's definitely well polished.
Yeah. So it's kind of hard for me to say with the games that I haven't played yet for this year what my clear front runner would be for game of the year. But Resident Evil 2 is up there. What's it called? Plague Tale is probably top of the list, and I know that might be from Shell Shock because I just played it a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
Like I played it.
There's
everything
definitely a
I
bias
played
that you always
today.
get for like a good game that you recently played.
Yeah, but I'm really enjoying it. There's a few others there that it's surprising that Kingdom Hearts 3 was like it's like not even in the conversation.
I mean, I would say Resident Evil 2 would probably be my choice right now.
Yeah.
But there's some
Which
good
is
games.
understandable.
There's some good bangers coming out. You got Borderlands 3 coming out.
Death Stranding,
Yeah, geez. So that's a
the
big
Link's
question
Awakening
mark.
remake, which I think I'm the only one who's gonna play that and enjoy it.
I'm gonna play it. I bet I'll. No, I told you that was my favorite Zelda game, so I'm actually excited about playing that. My only concern is just like how much length it is. I mean, that was it was made for the Game Boy in 1990 something, so it's like
I'm hoping they add a lot.
Yeah, so how long will this actually take me to complete?
Also, since we're this is the first episode of August, I wanted to go out talk about what's coming out for August. So you have Madden NFL 20, The Church of the Darkness.
Madden, The Church of the Darkness.
No, those are two separate games. Church of Darkness.
I got excited for a Madden game finally.
Did you? Madden 20, Church of Darkness. Rated R. Age of Wonders. Most of these I haven't even heard of. I don't know how many of them are indie titles. Necrobarista. Rad is one that I played at PAX East.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
I could see how people would like it, but it wasn't really for me. It was an over the head kind of you're kind of mutating from things as you go along. It's kind of like looks like a dungeon crawler. It's a dungeon crawler basically, but it just didn't grab me. Remnant from the Ashes, Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist, another episode for Life is Strange 2. Oninaki, Ancestors, The Humankind Odyssey, Control, that I put on my GameFly list because I took a look at it today. It looks pretty baller. So I would check that out. The Bard's Tale 4, Astral Chain, which everything I read on the internet, everybody's pretty excited for this game. I'm not. It didn't look like a very good game. Maybe it's just because I'm never that huge into Platinum games as a developer, but it just didn't look like it looked like a kind of hack and slash game. I just wasn't really into the look of it or the feel of it.
Let's check it out.
Did you know the Blair Witch game is coming out this month?
This month?
I didn't even know it had a release date.
Yeah, me neither.
So this is from specifically GameInformer.com/2019. That's the URL. It just has every game listed out for the year, which I think is really cool. Yeah, I remember Blair Witch. We got like barely a trailer for it.
You don't really know what it's really about, like how it plays or anything.
It was a pre-rendered trailer. We have no idea. It was just like a cutscene trailer. And then the Dark Pictures Man of Medan comes out at the end of the month. Most of these games I haven't even heard of.
You forgot the big one. World of Warcraft Classic, August 27th.
Oh, it wasn't on the list.
Yeah, it's the only thing that I'm like debating. Like,
I wonder why that wasn't on the list.
Because it's not
Game
really a
Informer
new game, but it is
a new game. It is kind of. I mean,
it's like an old game.
It's like a remake.
Yeah, it's a re-release.
It's like Resident Evil 2 remake, basically, for World of Warcraft.
Yes, I mean it's not.
I hope
that
they
big
updated
of
the
a jump.
graphics.
I think it doesn't require the same. So the minimum requirements are definitely less than what the current World of Warcraft is, but the recommended are the same.
So maybe it's. I guess it's not even really. Maybe that's why it's not even like really a new game. It is just like, hey, we're taking this stuff out.
Yeah.
And putting the map back to the way it was before Cataclysm happened.
Yeah, making it harder to level and harder to get mounts and stuff.
Yeah. So those are the games coming out for August. Aside from WoW Classic, are there any others that you were interested in?
No, there's nothing on there that really. I mean, a lot of them, to be fair, I don't really know a lot about. So maybe if I saw, I would be more interested. But there's nothing that's been grabbing me that I've been looking forward to playing.
The Control's an action adventure game. It's published by 505 Games. It revolves around the Federal Bureau of Control, a secret U.S. government agency tasked with containing and studying phenomena which violate the laws of reality. So that's the description. I checked it out earlier today because I was just looking at every game that was coming out, and that's the only one that really took me.
Yeah, August is kind of a slow month, but Madden is kind of usually the signal of like, okay, summer's ending, games can come out now. So next month it starts to get really hot with like Borderlands coming out in the first half of the month. So
yeah,
that I'm looking forward to.
I might check out The Church in the Darkness to see if that's any good. Yeah, I think I'm gonna look up every one of these games just to see if any of them are like even worth it. If it would just be a waste of time, but I would love to check out Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist. I used to play a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Growing up. Anyways, that brings us into the discussion topic for today. Unless there's something else you want to bring to the table.
I have nothing to bring to the table.
Nothing. Neither of you ever do.
Classic.
I got really worried last week.
Why?
I put my Ocarina of Time N64 version, the cartridge, into my N64, and it didn't turn on. Which I have 3 or 4 versions of that game. All of them I have a file on that I've 100%ed. But that was like my introduction into Zelda, was that cartridge. And it wasn't even like I bought it used when I was like 12. I got the
battery.
No, I got it to work eventually. But it was kind of this thing where like I kind of shrugged my shoulders because like I got it when I was 12. It was like 2000, 2001. It was like way past the lifespan of the well, not way past. It was like around the time the GameCube was coming out. And I had just gotten the N64, and I knew I wanted to play that game because I wanted like I played it at my friend's house once, and it was either that or Oracle of Seasons for the Game Boy Color. That was my introduction into The Legend of Zelda, but I'm pretty sure it was this game. So it's a really big game in that sense. It was really influential to like me liking Zelda now, and the cartridge was just all screwed up from the get go. Like it was like faded yellow. It was like had these like gross markings on it, but you know it was mine. It was my first Zelda cartridge. And it didn't turn on immediately. And like, yeah, I kind of shrugged it off like, oh, like that's kind of a bummer. Maybe I'll just try to get a better cartridge of it and try to play it. And then it eventually worked. And then I'm like, oh my God, this looks horrible. Because like N64 or below games just do not look good on HD TVs.
Yeah, that's kind of one of my blights in my gaming history. I never had an N64. So it's like something I kind of want to get at some point, an N64, but also where there's no, I feel like when I look back, there's not a lot of games that I feel like I missed out.
There are a ton of good games you missed out on.
All I can think of is like Mario. And...
Well, I'm sure there's a mini coming out for it eventually.
Oh, that's true. I'll get that. That'll be the first mini that'll be like, okay, these are games that I actually never played, so it's really cool.
Here's a short list off the top of my head of games that either will be or should be on it: Mario 64, Star Fox 64, Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Kirby and the Crystal Shards, or I think it's just called Kirby 64. I can't remember which. Phantom Dark. Is it Phantom Dark?
No.
Is that the game? What's
Talking
the game?
about the GoldenEye one?
Yeah. Perfect Dark.
Perfect Dark. Okay,
Perfect
I was going to
Dark.
say, you're not right, but
I'm
know
close.
what you're trying to say.
GoldenEye, speaking of which.
Yeah, they'll have to have Mario Kart
This
on there.
won't be on it, but Vigilante 8 was a really great game. It was like the Twisted Metal for N64. That was really fun.
That was on PS2. I think we had this conversation before. That was on PlayStation as well.
Oh, okay, there you go. So it wouldn't be on the N64 mini.
Yeah.
So there's 7 right there off the top of my head. I'm sure there's Mario Party, the first Mario Party.
The first 2 Mario parties. Yeah, those
Mario
were awesome.
Kart 64. I loved Mario Kart 64.
I remember when Mario Party was great.
Mario Party used to be so good. I mean, the one for the Switch is at least better than the last couple.
It
that
is
have come
better
out.
than the last like 6, but that's like being better than poop.
Super Smash Brothers, the original.
That's true.
Like
that's a good game.
it was such a mainstay for so many games. Unfortunately, games from that era didn't hold up very well, and I don't know how good they would look.
I think the problem is for N64, they didn't really have as much in the way of like really good role-playing games, and those were really stuck to me at that age. Like I loved playing Final Fantasy VII for the first time and really being like, oh my God, this is a whole new genre that I can really dig my teeth into.
Sony was really the RPG machine of that era.
Yeah. There's still games that I want to go back and play. Like I've been looking on eBay for after I've kind of gone on this kick of playing, Parasite Eve and some of these older Dark Cloud and Rogue Galaxy. I kind of want to go back and play some more of these games that I might have missed. So
that's why I was enjoyed about getting. That didn't even make any sense.
Nope.
That's why I was so excited for getting the SNES Mini. It had a lot of RPGs on it that I didn't really get to tackle back in the day. But no, N64, if they do make a mini, is worth picking up. And if they don't end up making a mini, this company just came out with this HDMI converter for the N64. It's
I saw that.
$150.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't it super expensive?
It is.
And I mean, it probably doesn't make it look that much better. I've never been a graphics like, I need this to be nice looking.
I had an HDMI adapter for my Wii, which did almost nothing. I don't know if this actually upreses the graphics or not, because I know it would, for me, playing Skyward Sword on my HD TV was a struggle. Because it at times looked really horrible, and I knew it wasn't the game's fault. Same thing when I plugged in, like my girlfriend and I played Mario 64 recently, and we were fine, but even on an older TV, like that era of games, like the polygonal games, didn't hold up well because it was like restarting with new technology and the limitations were real.
Yeah, I remember when I was growing up, like every time I bought a new system, I would have to buy one of those like knockoff RFU adapters for like the super old style TVs.
Oh, the coaxial cable
yeah,
TVs.
because my TV didn't even have the 3 colored prongs.
Oh, I did too. For the
Yeah.
Super Nintendo, that's how I plugged it in.
Yeah, I did that like all the way up to like PlayStation 2, I think I was doing
Me
that.
too. Me
And
too.
it's just so, and I never really noticed that it was that much worse. I'm sure it looked awful by comparison if
Oh,
you had
yeah.
them side by side,
Well, it
but I
looks
never
better
really
because
noticed.
those TVs aren't in HD.
Yeah, I bet some of it does look better. Like you see some of these some of those old games in like a nice TV, and you can just kind of
Yeah.
see how bad it looks more clearly.
And maybe that's why they haven't pulled the trigger on the N64 Mini, because I know with the SNES and NES, the emulating was beautiful, but it's a lot easier to do that with pixel games. I had one of those like old TVs with like the turn dial cranks.
Yep.
So I definitely need the coaxial hookup for my systems, for my PlayStation. That's how I played my PlayStation in my room. But moving on to the discussion topic. That was a nice kind of like stroll down memory lane. That was nice. For the discussion topic, this actually comes from an email we received from another fan. This one's from Mike in Montana. He didn't write that, but I know he's in Montana.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm a creeper.
He tracks all of the emails we get.
It just so happens that the 2 emails we've gotten the past 2 weeks have both been from people I know. Hey guys, been enjoying the podcast since the beginning, and your last segment on game music got me thinking. It left me trying to remember a word because Matt was talking about particular theme music that goes well with a character. It's actually called a leitmotif.
Leitmotif. I need a
French
leitmotif to
word.
just follow me around.
What would it sound like?
I have no idea.
Mine would sound like the theme from Gold Saucer from Final Fantasy VII. It would just be like very jaunty.
Oh my god, that gets so aggravating after a while.
Well, any music would. It would always be on a loop.
True.
But the reason that I was trying to remember was because I was thinking about the music from the game Undertale, a game that's on my list to play. This is me, not the email. And how important the music was for the environment and the story. In particular, sounds like his theme and Hopes and Dreams. You guys have talked about a lot of different components of video games, but I'm curious what your favorites and most compelling stories are from games. My personal favorite was The Last of Us and Undertale, because on the whole, they are surprisingly average in gameplay and graphics, but the story elevates it amazingly. I've always considered myself more into games for the epic stories that try to tell, and was curious about your thoughts. Hope to hear from you soon, Mike.
Yeah, that's kind of how I kind of have a similar perspective where getting me with a good story can kind of make up for a lot of kind of janky gameplay or slow gameplay or some maybe other things that aren't exactly how, or like length or how some other things I don't want to be. This was a hard question just because there's so many good story games and I don't want to kind of beat the same horse every week, and it's because I feel like a lot of the times I'm just repeating myself because there's games that I love that I bring out a lot for like, oh, this is the best of this, and it's also the best of this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this.
Yeah. I'm sure each of our lists are pretty similar for this too.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, I feel like the more we do these podcasts, I feel like there was kind of, for me at least, this golden age between like PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 where it seems like all my favorite, even though I still love to play games and I play all the time and I'm always excited about the next new game, I feel like the best, especially role-playing games, is one of my favorite genres, was in that era, and just like a lot of the story games in general, I feel like were the best in that era. So it was a little harder to be like, okay, does any PS4 or Xbox 360 games really play in that same arena? But that being said, I had a few that I thought were pretty good. We'll go with first, the newest one is Witcher 3, which I already said earlier, I had struggled getting into it at the beginning because I think one of the problems with that game, like this email was saying, not about this particular game, but it's the combat is really nothing to write home about. It's not really this really great action game, which is surprising because it's a lot of people's favorite game of all time, or they just really love it and kind of obsess over it, and everyone's super psyched about Cyberpunk. But once you get into it, and you play more and more, just the how the world opens up, it's kind of like more than any other game. You just kind of can really explore, and the characters. Just the side quests turn into these big, it's not like, oh, here's a little fetch quest. It's just this big overarching new story that you're playing. And I feel like it's one of the first games that's really done that in a way that's been able to pull me in and really get me interested in doing all these little story beats and just kind of trying to 100% the map and then kind of being bummed when the story's over. And then even the I never got around to the second expansion, but even the first expansion, which I think the second one's kind of supposed to be better, so I should really get to that. But even the first expansion is this whole new long story, which is super interesting with, kind of an interesting story arc. They like a lot of companies fall into this hole where when they make expansions, they're like, all right, we'll just they already paid for the money, we'll just kind of put whatever, and they're usually super disappointing, but this was not the case for that game.
I know if Dan was here, that would be on his list. And it's one of those games where it's like I've acknowledged over and over again that just from watching people play, because I would watch I used to watch my roommate play, and like from a story and graphical standpoint, it is one of the best. It's just I don't have the time to get into it with everything else, and I find that
it can be a sink.
Yeah, and that setting, I always have trouble with that setting, even though like Zelda's my favorite franchise, and it's kind of the similar setting. It's like the sword and shield, low tech or no tech.
Yeah, I hear that. It kind of does get with video games get a little monotonous with the amount of times they go to that same kind of. Not that it's bland, but it's just like, okay, yep, horses and castles. Like, how many times can we do that? Can we do something in the future? Can we do something? And there are games that do that, but it seems like a lot of the most well-known ones, like Skyrim's not too different from that.
Cyberpunk is going to hit on that. I think tinge with me. I think they're going to bring what I wanted to feel from The Witcher and bring it into a setting that's more my speed.
Exactly, me too. I'm more into that kind of cyberpunk era too, so I'm kind of really excited for that. I mean, imagine just having that team and even having learned from that and being even like the next step up from that in a environment that's even more interesting to me than old medieval times. Just kind of, it's a lot to live up to. So, what
other ones hit your list?
So first, I wanted to point out Silent Hill 2. So that was an amazing game. We had talked about the music kind of I think last week on that. And it's just it's this super creepy horror game. You're just this guy named James. Your wife is dead, and you get this letter from her from this creepy town, and you're like, okay, I have to go and figure out like, is this an old letter? Is this from her? Is this a joke? You really have no idea what's going on. And then you get there and you meet a girl that kind of looks like her, but it's not her. And things just kind of get weirder and weirder from there. And then you eventually, I don't want to spoil it or anything, but you eventually there's kind of a somewhat of a twist where you kind of learn what happened to your wife. And it just continues to pull at you throughout the entire game. And I feel like the music really does a big part of lifting that. Because, I mean, the voice acting is kind of lame. The graphics aren't that great, but just when you put the atmosphere and the music and that kind of dark story beats that they kind of sprinkle in there throughout this whole 12, 15-hour campaign, it really is. I've not seen anything like it in a horror game before.
So those were your two big ones?
Yeah, and I also wanted to I'll give a quick shout out to Final Fantasy VII. I don't know if you're going to talk about that. Legend of Dragoon is another. Those are two really fun.
Ooh.
Yeah, Legend of Dragoon is. I really want to play that again. It's PlayStation RPG, and the story itself isn't as amazing as I feel like the world they created is really. The characters and the different cities have different personalities to them, and the history and the lore, and there's this thousands-year war, and there's like these kind of different species of humans, basically. So it's really interesting. I want to give it another shot because I don't think I can really speak to the story right now because it's been so long since I played it. And the last one I want to just point out is Grand Theft Auto Vice City. That was my favorite Grand Theft Auto game. A lot of people say they like San Andreas better, or even maybe the new one. But I feel like just that game with the voice acting from Ray Liotta as the main character, it basically plays out as it's kind of an homage to Scarface. So you're really playing through the Scarface movie as Ray Liotta, but also, you're going in this kind of cyber 80s vibe, which is really cool too. So I really enjoyed that and the characters. So
out of every game, Witcher 3 would be your pick for like most compelling story.
Oh God, if you're gonna make me, I didn't list those in order.
Oh yeah, what would be your number one if you had to pick one out of all the games you've ever played? Not necessarily what you think the best story was, but like one that I guess gripped you, or in Mike's words, I've always considered. I'm curious what your favorite and most compelling stories from games. So what would be your most?
I think out of those and out of any games I've ever played would probably be Silent Hill 2, just because it's so dark and so just how I don't even know how to explain it. It's so crazy that it's always kind of stuck with me. It's something I always want to go back to.
It's on my list of games that I want to play.
Yeah. I'd recommend it to anyone that likes any sort of horror games.
I was never into horror growing up. Not because like I hated it, just it wasn't really like I guess introduced to me.
And the thing about that game is what makes it so special is it's not just like a horror game where you're killing guys. Like Resident Evil games can have interesting stories, but mostly it's just about killing zombies and, you know, saving the world or getting to the end. But like just the character development throughout this game, like when you slowly learn more and more about your main character, you're kind of this, you know, this outside perspective. You kind of assume a lot of things. You're this, you know, good guy, and then maybe you learn some other stuff that isn't so good that your main character does, and then you learn about, and there's all these different endings that you can get. So there's a bunch of replay value on different story arcs that can happen. So it's just kind of, it's really neat.
Yeah, and so these discussion topics we've been doing every week, it's made me reflect a lot every week on just like gaming in general and my thoughts on gaming. And it's the reason I like these so much is because it makes me think of a lot of things I don't normally think about.
Yeah, it makes me keep on wanting to play all these like old PlayStation games I haven't played in a long time, or I've never played and wanted to.
Rarely do you get a game where it's the whole package, where it's like, you know, the best story, graphics, and gameplay. Like, you know, you were saying about The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 is one of those games that probably came the closest. Because, like, yeah, the gameplay wasn't bad. It just wasn't anything to write home about. And, you know, graphically it was amazing.
Yeah.
And I've heard nothing but great things about the story. Even, like, some of my favorite games of all time, like Breath of the Wild was my favorite game in 2017. I got the year right this time.
Yep.
It wasn't 2015. That was like my favorite game that year, but the story was definitely lacking. The DLC has helped a little, but that just doesn't make it a bad game or not the amazing game. For me, it was all about the experience. Same thing with the first Portal game. There wasn't much of a story there, but it was still like an amazingly fun game just to like do all of those puzzles. It was really hard for me to like just pick one game
for sure
for the most compelling or interesting story. I have a list of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games here.
Jesus.
That I could all
bring it on.
Just that I was just in general thinking of when I could think of most compelling story. And it was really hard for me to pick one, and mine's kind of a cop-out answer, I feel.
All right.
Because it's one of the games that were mentioned in the email. But it's just how I feel. So I'm going to just kind of go over all of the runners-up of just ones that I thought of off the top of my head. Final Fantasy VII. Is obviously there. Like, you know, I know a lot of people say like their story was dumb and confusing, but that was what kept me going in that game was like, you know, where is this going? What's going to happen next? Because it definitely wasn't the graphics.
No.
But it was also, you know, there were things they were doing in that game that hadn't been done before, like cutscenes and like the summonings were really cool and everything.
Yeah, they really fleshed out all the different characters with the different town. Like they all had their own story arcs, which is really cool.
Speaking of Vice City, the first Red Dead Redemption for compelling story was definitely on my list.
Yeah, you know what, I missed putting that, but that would be on my list too. Especially the ending was just maybe the best ending of any game.
Like, you know, you're following this guy's, again, it's a redemption story basically of this guy who was once a criminal, and you just follow him trying to kind of make a new life for his family, and like there's all this like mysterious stuff going around. So I don't know if Red Dead Redemption 2, I can't bring myself to finish that game. I don't know if that story even comes close.
It does not.
Okay, Matt says it does not.
I mean, other people seem to like it, but
Portal 2 took what Portal was and added a story in there, kind of a backstory to like, you know, the game and kind of how things came into it. Also features the voice of one of my favorite actors working today, J.K. Simmons.
Yep.
So that was a really good one. Octopath Traveler, you're following 8 different storylines at once, and each one of them I felt like was like really well crafted, and you know, it really digs deep. None of them really were like any of the others, so that was really cool. Gone Home, I know you hated that game. It was just like a small indie game.
I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it.
It was only story. That was basically the game. It was very compelling though. You know, you're going around finding all these like little journal entries from your sister, and you think it's going to turn into like a Silent Hill horror game, and it doesn't. It ends up being a very beautiful story in the end. And then at the end of my list is this was in no particular order, by the way, but BioShock. The first one. I still haven't really played Infinite, so I don't know how that holds up, but I know it didn't hold up as well as people wanted to. And BioShock 2 was basically just a rinse and repeat of the first one. But that first BioShock, especially, like, that's like one of the biggest like reveals in a video game for me happened in that story. So I cannot leave that off of the list. for my favorite, what I thought was the most compelling, and again, like he said in the email, this game, the gameplay wasn't anything to write home about. Graphically, it was nice. I have the remastered version for PS4. It came with my PS4, but Last of Us,
Yes.
just that story and the emotions involved kept me at the edge of my seat the entire game. I am so excited to play the second one. I've never played through a story that was that gripping in a video game before. It was basically like watching a movie. It was like everything, like Heavy Rain and Detroit. It was everything those games wanted to be in that game, because those games were basically like watching a movie. And I told you I was going to bring A Plague Tale up again. There's a lot of mirror similarities between A Plague Tale and Last of Us, because it's like very similar gameplay. Like in Last of Us, I remember you were always trying to like throw bottles and try to distract people. That's what you're doing in A Plague Tale.
Yeah, everything's going bad in the world.
You're basically playing with an unplayable companion. I know, like in Last of Us, and this is a spoiler alert. If you haven't played Last of Us, it came out in like 2013. I think it's been a long time. You can play as Ellie for a short period of the game, but most of the time, Ellie is just your companion. In this game, it's sister and brother, and the brother, you're kind of holding his hand throughout the entire game. You're telling him to go certain places or stay when you want him to stay. And it feels like one of those games where, like, the gameplay and the puzzles are, sometimes pretty mediocre to sometimes pretty good, but it's the story, and it's very compelling, the story and how the story is presented to you. I said earlier how much I detest zombies, how much I have zombie fatigue. Last of Us is like the outlier in that. Even though, again, yeah, the zombies, it's just there's a zombie outbreak, but even from the first few moments of that game, did you play Last of Us?
I did. I feel like I should give it another shot, because I beat it, and I think I played it after everyone was talking it up so much and saying how amazing it was that I just was kind of a little underwhelmed at the end of the day.
I won't spoil this part, but the first 5 minutes of the game are kind of a flashback, and at the end of that flashback, I was already hooked. I was aghast at what they did at the end of that flashback. So to me, it was the most compelling story. Maybe if I played through The Witcher 3, that would change my mind. Again, you mentioned Vice City. Vice City, see, to me, Vice City, San Andreas, and GTA 5 kind of all had the same storyline. That was more of a setting for me, and the gameplay in those games was a lot of fun, being able to like drive in the open world and everything like that. But like, there wasn't really much to any of those stories, in my opinion. Tommy Vercetti, you were a coke dealer, just kind of dealing with crap the entire movie. It was very Scarface, especially towards the end. I mean, San Andreas was the same thing. You were a gangbanger, and there was stuff happening. Go shoot people.
I think, like you said, what made Vice City great was the world, and then I think in particular Ray Liotta, I think, did a better than average job than most protagonists, and then just even the side characters, like your lawyer was really interesting and funny. It was so long ago that I played it, but that's something I remember, just having these really different, colorful different characters throughout the game that really added a lot to just this regular GTA, let's go and kill stuff. And
one here that I didn't talk about that I wrote down was Fallout 4. Fallout 4, like, I thought the story was very interesting. You did have somewhat of a choice at the end, but like, you were cryogenically frozen. You wake up in this wasteland, unlike the Fallout 3, where, you were just kind of like living life. Like, this guy like knew life before and after the quote unquote Fallout. And then you're kind of going through the story about finding your son and wherever that leads you, and the different factions that you can get involved with. And you have to make a choice at the end to only follow one of the three factions. So, that had a really compelling story too. And all of these games, none of these games are completely perfect. They all have something. The most perfect, I would say, out of all of them would probably be either Portal 2 or Red Dead 1. Because Last of Us, like I said, the gameplay in Last of Us was, pretty mediocre. It was really cool that you could upgrade your weapons. It was also one of the only games, the first games I saw, where you actually saw your weapons, like, on you. Like, Portal 2, silent protagonist, I guess you could say that. Red Dead 1, there's very little negative I can say about that game.
Yeah, it's a great game.
That's pretty up there for, like, the whole package. Yeah, that's all I really have to say. But, story for me plays a pretty big part in games, kind of like what Mike said in his email.
Yeah.
Very rare is there a game where there's, I love it a lot without a gripping story. I feel like that either that really needs to be there, or everything else about the game really needs to be like top notch.
Yeah, and I feel like I've been hungry for a good story game. Like, there hasn't been as much released recently, and especially with the RPG genre having that kind of great period from the PlayStation 1 to the PlayStation 2 time, where I feel like they aren't releasing games that really draw me that much. Like I was a huge fan of the Final Fantasy series, but 15 was a letdown.
It was.
13 was a letdown. 12 was better than those, but still not as good as 7 through 10.
The 3 that stick out to me that are going to be coming out are Death Stranding, Cyberpunk, and the Final Fantasy VII Remake. One of which was a developer who had a game that was on your list, one of which is a remake of a game that was on both of our lists, and the other is just Hideo Kojima, who can tell stories. Oh, I'm surprised you didn't mention the Metal Gear series or anything from that.
Yeah, I guess, I would put the first Metal Gear on my list, too.
Yeah, the first
There's
Metal
so
Gear
many
was
different
really
games.
Good. That story
has a really good story.
All over the place,
the problem was, like the second game had a really interesting story, but it was really kind of like action movie interesting, just like these blown out, oh my god, oh, and then this happens, and then, oh no, here's this guy that you thought was like just all these kind of wows and kind of just amazing moments. But if you look back, the story itself is just kind of almost, I don't want to say hacky, but like just kind of silly, but in a fun way.
Like they did it purposefully.
Yeah, exactly.
It's corny for the sake of being corny.
Yeah.
I can imagine that The Witcher and Metal Gear would probably be on Dan's list if he was there. Next week we'll ask him.
I mean, you fight the president on the roof of some building in the
did I not say that either?
Game.
Did I take that off the list? I did. Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Like, I didn't really... It's nowhere near the top of the list for best story, but like at the end of the second game, Assassin's Creed 2, you get to fist fight the Pope. Like the story, I loved the story of Ezio through those two games. The thing that brought that down story-wise was you also had the present day like Damien stuff, which all sucked. And you had the aliens and that stuff. So like if I just took the Ezio portions of those games, that was a really great, compelling story. So I just wanted to mention that before we nod off. But that's all the time we have for today. So for just the two of us this time, this is The Collector and the Bargain Bin Gamer signing off.
Aren't I the Trophy Hunter?
Fuck. Dan's not here.
Yeah,
I'm throwing off my game. All right. Rewind and redo. This is the Trophy Hunter and the Bargain Bin Gamer.
There we go.
Logging off.